Okay. Well, that was hard. I I hate the fucking Heat. There's times when I come on here after a loss and I could be reasonable. Whenever the Knicks lose to the Heat, all that reason goes out the window. Goes out the window right away. So I took some time, and that's why I'm recording this episode. That's why a lot of the times after losses, I'll record the episode. I wait at least like 15 hours. And that's what we're doing here because that was a frustrating one. It's difficult to sweep a team, all right? When you play a series in basketball, you're most likely going to experience both sides, both outcomes. So the Knicks did win on Friday, but they lost last night. 115 to 113 in Miami at South Beach at MSG South, as we call it, as Knicks fans always infest that place, which is just lovely. But unfortunately, Knicks fans couldn't walk away with a win, as the Knicks couldn't get it done at the buzzer last night. Let me just adjust my mic here. Couldn't get it done at the buzzer last night. This was now their second loss to Miami already this season. So, just been a tough start to the year. I've not enjoyed it like I thought I would. I'm not going to lie. It's been a very mediocre start as the 5 seed at 8-5 right now. 2 losses to Miami already. You still have yet to win a game away from the Garden. You're 0-4 now on the road. You've got these big injuries to worry about. Brunson injury. Hopefully he's back by Saturday. That's what I'm looking at. That'd be nice. The OG Anunoby injury. I'm thinking more January, to be honest with you, because they're going to take their time because they need this guy for the playoffs or else they have no shot. So Shamet and McBride got the starts in this game because of that. Shamet came back down to earth big time after his adorable one game. 10 points, 2 of 11, 1 of 7. McBride, though, Deuce had a great 3-level scoring game. He scored 25 points on 23 shots. He was very good. Shot 43%, 10 for 23, 5 for 12 on his threes. He knocked down some mid-ranges, had a finish or two. I liked what I saw from Deuce, for the most part. We'll talk about the end of the game later, but, some good two-man action with Towns. Those two have developed a great chemistry. I liked some of the off-the-dribble stuff I saw from Deuce. Some ISO threes, pull-ups, step-backs. He had a nice step-back on Jovic. He had a pull-up three-point jumper over Jaquez late in the fourth quarter. So, Jovic is a long wing. Jaquez is a very strong wing. Some impressive stuff, and you're seeing more on-ball skills this year with McBride. That started in the preseason where Knicks fans started to notice that, which is good. Just a little bit more. So those guys started, and so your second unit consisted of Clarkson, Hart, and some Yabusele minutes. Hart, he did have some rough turnovers, some rough moments, but overall I thought it was a fine game for him. I thought defensively he was fine, and I thought offensively he helped create a lot of pace and do the usual Josh Hart stuff. Clarkson, we'll talk about him throughout the show. A little bit of this and that with him, as there usually can be. And then Yabu, I thought gave the Knicks his best minutes yet. Again, he only got 10 minutes, and we'll talk about that later. But he had a great third quarter. I thought he was good on the glass. I thought he was communicating well for the most part defensively. He was staying in front of his man. And for a guy who's kind of falling out of the rotation or fallen out of the rotation, I don't know, man. I feel like this guy can still contribute. Anybody like any kind of big wing who can switch, screen, and shoot, I feel like should be given a bigger shot. So again, we'll talk about the rotation in this episode. But you go back to the first unit and some of the other starters, you know, it was a bad Towns game. We'll talk that. It was a good Mitch game on the glass, especially his later minutes. I thought early on Miami did a nice job of sending early help to him on the glass. They put some bodies around him to take him off the glass, but didn't really help. Mitch was great on the boards again. And Mikal Bridges had a great performance. And I think that's where we'll start. It comes in a loss, but Mikal Bridges for the first time this year, we'll recognize him and give him the Bing Bong game ball, which I just fucking hate doing during losses, but I got to find a better system because I like to hand it out to somebody every game just to count it up at the end of the year and see how much you impacted the team. But it just feels dirty doing it in losses, even if it's a regular season game. But 23 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks, and that was after his 7-steal game the other night. Shoots 9 for 14, was 2 for 4 on the 3-point line, and he played 39 minutes, continuing his strong season. I thought he should have shot the ball even more. I don't think he got a single attempt in the fourth quarter. But when he's not spotting for 3, I like when Mikal is aggressive and he goes all the way to the hoop and he doesn't stop short. I know he likes those short mid-range shots, but he did a lot of attacking the hoop last night, going to the basket fully. There was a lot of off-ball attacks, a ton of transition finishes. He had a transition steal on the post, kind of like how you'll see OG Anunoby do that, where he posts the small, establishes position, gets the nice finish. He had a dunk off that. He had a coast-to-coast left-handed slam as he drove past Ware, crossed him over. He had a steal and slam at the end of the third quarter. So some really nice transition finishes. He had a half-court finish. It was a right-handed finish off of a 3-5 pick-and-roll between he and Yabu. Got to the line 5 times. A lot of nice sprays. A lot of good relocations, cuts. Just playing within the flow of the offense. Mikal Bridges continues to stand out and have a very efficient season. And so while we're talking about game balls, I think from the second unit, I'll talk highly of Clarkson right now before we review some of the defensive stuff in a second. 4 game balls now on the year, all coming as a reserve. I could have given this one to Yabu, but I don't think Yabu played enough minutes, and he doesn't shoot. Clarkson, he's not going to be afraid to shoot. 14 points, 7 of 13, but 3 assists, a steal, was 7 for 10 from 2. That was across 26 minutes of play. So good minutes right away again in the first half. Comes in, makes impact, and he's very important with Brunson, sitting right now. The Knicks have a guy who can, put the ball on the floor and get paint touches and make kicks, draw help, things like that. So Clarkson, 4 game balls on the year. But yeah, the defensive stuff was tough last night for the Knicks as a whole. Again, you gave up 115 points. It's not the end of the world. It's average, but they got torched on the 3-point line. And I think last night the Knicks zone coverage didn't work out the way it did on Friday. Miami shot 40% on the 3-point line last night, 14 makes, 35 attempts. Fontecchio, Smith, Larson, Davion Mitchell had a couple of threes. You're clearly seeing the impact. When you're without OG Anunoby completely and you're only getting 15 to 18 minutes a night from Mitch Robinson, him being a part-time player right now, that's tough to deal with when you play a good modern offense like Miami. And so you saw some real breakdowns from the Knicks guards last night in their coverages, and I want to go over a lot of these specific breakdowns. In the first quarter, Josh Hart, there was a possession where he cheats off the strong corner to watch the weak side action, and the ball's on his side, so it completely leaves Jovic open for a corner that he knocks down. In the third quarter, Josh Hart, again, bringing useless help on a drive with Yabu already waiting at the basket, so Hart wasn't really going to do anything, leaves Larson. Larson knocks down a spray three. And then Jordan Clarkson just had a really rough defensive night. There was a possession with Clarkson in the first quarter. He's in low man help on a drive, so he has to leave his man, and now he's late and over aggressive on his close. So Fontecchio gets open on the corner, knocks it down. In the second quarter, he brings useless help, back to the shooter. He's late on the rotation. Fontecchio gets an open wing three. Again, in the second quarter, he stunts to a driving Jaquez from zone. The Knicks are in zone. He stunts to Jaquez. Hart's already in front of him, so he leaves Mitchell for an open wing three off the swing. Again, in the second quarter, he sends more gap help to stop a drive one pass away on the wing. Jaquez gets an open top of the key three-pointer off a swing. In the third quarter, he sends help on another drive. This time it's Jovic. Leaves Smith open for a spray three off the kick out. Some really bad defensive possessions, giving up threes. And then he was really bad in the fourth quarter too. Getting bullied in the fourth, a lot of 2-pointers and drives given up. He had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter alone. A dumb foul off the ball underneath the basket. He fouls Fontecchio after getting beat baseline. He fouls Smith at the basket. He fouls Mitchell, who got to the middle of the lane to get an and one, which gave Miami the lead late in the fourth quarter. But he wasn't the only one who struggled defensively. I thought Shamet had some moments. He had a possession where he didn't match up with Fontecchio on the open corner in transition, and he was the first one down. You see where everybody else is matching up. It's your job to get over. Gives up an open three-point look. I thought Bridges and Yabu, there was this one play in particular where they miscommunicate on whether to switch it or fight over the top of it. It was off of Miami Heat blob action, leads to an open corner. Mikal also some tough ball watching from him, led to some breakdowns. So everybody really, ironically, besides Cat, I thought Cat defensively was fine relative to his standards. But I thought, at some point, or I think at some point, the Knicks are going to have to look at the way they're playing defense. And if this continues, let's say, by the time we're a quarter of the way through, which we're approaching, I do think if it gets to that point, we might have to shake up the scheme a little bit and maybe send a little bit of less gap help, because the Knicks right now, the updated numbers, they are allowing the 6th most three-point attempts per 100 possessions. They are allowing the 5th most open three-pointers by frequency percentage. Open is if you're unguarded from 4 to 6 feet. And they are allowing the 7th most wide open three-pointers. Wide open is if you're unguarded by 6 feet or more. So we asked for more variety. And we're getting it recently between the zone and even on pick and rolls. You're seeing some more switching, some more blitzing recently. So that's nice, and maybe it does start to improve. I do feel like a lot of the help they're sending is useless at times. But, if we're talking about playing some more zone defense, I do think this next stretch of games, the Knicks will be playing some offenses where they might be able to get away with zone because of the play style of some of these teams. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But yeah, I'm not gonna harp too much on the defense. But it was bad last night, despite what the numbers say. Mike Brown, taking some Twitter heat after this game. He ran a 7-man rotation last night, 7.5 if you include the 10 minutes that Yabu played. I was going to start the show off and say, I can't believe we're doing this again, and make a big deal out of Knicks fans complaining about minutes. But, I'm aware of the cesspool of Twitter and how it could be very reactionary and over emotional. I've never been a big, you got to play these guys type of guy. The last couple of years, I've gone away from criticizing the head coach, no matter who it is, from playing his guys too many minutes and not playing as many. Listen, I get it. Mike Brown, a big part of why he's here is to experiment with the rotation, play some more guys. It's funny because when he was doing that earlier in the year, he took flack because people were like, well, this isn't the preseason. You got to tighten it up a bit. And now, with two injuries to major minutes eaters in Brunson and Anunoby, he's taken flack for shortening the rotation. You go on Twitter, you're never going to find anybody happy. The way I'm looking at it, he's trying to win games here to some degree. I know we're trying to do the whole experimenting thing and maybe take a loss here for the greater good long term. He is trying to win some games at the end of the day. So I'm not going to get upset that the Knicks are not playing background journeyman draft picks who everybody, for whatever freaking reason, overhypes every year. I just think we can sound so dumb because this happens every year. And then years later, we see where these players end up and it's still rinse repeat. We do the same thing. It's like zombie minds. It all just resets and we forget, oh, we went through this before. So I'm not going to be angry at Mike Brown for not playing Ariel Hukporti or Tyler Kolek or Pacome Dadier last night or Mohamed Diawara for 1 minute last night, if he even played a minute. I get it. Maybe play one of those guys full minutes and maybe Yabusele should have played more than 10 minutes, Am I going to flip out over it like an irrational little boy? No. Again, I wonder if this is something that other fan bases do, but it's very extreme in the Knicks fan base. Like we've been doing this forever. You go back to Iggy Brasdegas, Kevin Knox, Kenny Wooten, Frank Ntilikina, Lamar Peters, even like guys like those guys who those guys never even made the league. And Knicks fans were advocating for them to get called up. And, Frank Ntilikina, who is consistently showing you he's not, an NBA starter. Knicks fans advocating that he play this many. It was just, it's a front office thing. The depth issue is something you can blame them for and not really Mike Brown. And that was my same sentiment under Tom Thibodeau. Go back and watch every one of those episodes where that was a problem. But I will say, I think it was interesting when you consider who was in the game down the stretch last night. I feel like you should be going 5 out to close that game. But if you're not going to go 5 out, then you should probably double up with 2 non-spacers in Mitch and Hart, or else those Cat lineups just make no sense, right? Cat with Hart, it's just counterproductive because Ware was on Hart last night, obviously. So it doesn't really make sense, especially with the way Cat was playing, and we'll talk about that, and the way they were playing him. So I felt like last night you should either close 5 out, and if you don't close 5 out, then take Cat off the floor because he was not great last night, and Mitch, you needed him down the stretch for those O boards, and I feel Josh Hart on the pace or for pace when he was on the ball. And then you get to the final couple of possessions. I don't know. I'm still kind of frustrated over why my backup wing, and he is a wing because we know he's not great on the ball, creating offense, breaking down defenders, driving, finishing. He's not that guy. So why is my backup wing in Deuce McBride getting the last 2 touches there in ATO offense? And Deuce creates an inefficient look with a mid-range shot that doesn't drop, and then he takes a contested layup that has no chance. I didn't love that. So if you want to criticize Mike Brown, I don't know if he drew that up. I'd have to go back and look at it, but maybe get Mikal I think Mikal Bridges should have been getting those touches there. He had himself a night. He's been your best player after your two best players, Brunson and Cat, arguably, maybe OG. But right now, Mikal Bridges is their second best player. And last night, he was their best player. So, I don't know. I felt he should have got that shot over Deuce McBride, those two shots. But, and obviously, Cat misses that one at the basket there. It was a good look. But Cat had a rough night. And Spoelstra made adjustments last night. The Knicks weren't always running offense. It was a lot of freelance, and I felt when they did run offense, it was good. There were some good help beater actions early on where, that one possession, it actually resulted in a deuce three. It was a pistol on the empty side between Bridges and Mitch. Deuce relocates to the weak corner while Shamet relocates to the strong corner. So they're both cutting underneath the basket one after another. That leads Miami to miscommunicate on those two cuts. I think Mitchell wants to stay attached. Larson, he wants to switch it. So that leaves Deuce open on the weak corner because of it. Ball goes to him, he knocks it down. Some really good help beater actions. Some other good ones with Cat on the post to, remove high side help. But I don't think Cat executed properly. And I think Miami, you have to credit them because I think Spoelstra, again, did an excellent job of adjusting and keying in on those Towns post-ups by sending ball side help. I think the Knicks had some possessions where they did a nice job, again, removing the high side helper, but Towns just didn't make a quick enough read or he didn't kick out at all off of it. He had some better reads in the second half for sure. He even did a nice job when he was in single coverage on smalls and Miami didn't send help to him. But for the most part, he needs to be better, and you're seeing, again, this has been a theme throughout his entire career. When defenses decide to get physical with him on the post, he doesn't handle it well. He gets upset and he starts playing overly aggressive and he starts fouling on the offensive end. A lot of offensive fouls, right? Miami often had a small on him when he was on the post. It was Larson a lot of the time, and he couldn't handle it. He was taking some tough shots that he didn't need to take from the post. He had some poor fouls. The elbow in the first half. He had the offensive foul when driving on him in the fourth quarter. So just some frustrating decision-making from Towns. I actually thought, he was 1 for 7 from 3. He got good three-point looks in this game, like the deep threes that he likes and the trail threes that he likes to take. Fine. I didn't have an issue with those shot selections. Right now, he's not hitting the bottom of the ocean. This season, he's not been able to hit the bottom of the fucking ocean from the three-point line. And that needs to start changing. Positive regression will come because he didn't just forget how to shoot, but it needs to start happening consistently. And right now, without Brunson, the Knicks need him to step up and be more consistent as that second star. Hasn't been. So that's really it as far as my complaints on this game. So the Knicks cannot sweep the Heat. They split this series Friday, Monday. But going forward, we'll talk about who we got coming up tomorrow night when we return from break. Stay with us. Be back in a sec.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Episode 927, is it, of the podcast? Yes, 927 of BD4. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Appreciate you all tuning in. So, as the Knicks remain winless on the road, they'll look to pick up their first win tomorrow night as this road trip continues with 4 more games. So tomorrow, Wednesday night, they're in Dallas. It's a 9:30 p.m. game. You can already chalk that up as a win because Dallas is abysmal. So a nice bounce back tomorrow night. Saturday, they've got the Orlando rematch at 5 p.m. Hopefully, again, this is hopefully when Brunson can be back. I'm not expecting him tomorrow. I would hope he's back by Saturday. And then Monday, they're, I guess you could put quotes around at Brooklyn, MSG Brooklyn at 7:30. And then next Wednesday, they're at Charlotte to wrap up the road trip at 7 p.m. It is a cup game, the third cup game for the Knicks. So that's cool. I couldn't care less about that thing. I tried last year. So, yeah, Wednesday, tomorrow, it's Dallas. You're playing the Mavs. They're not a good team. Beat them. It's a 9:30 p.m. game, so we'll be up late for that one. But that's it. So, with that said, let's wrap it up with our trivia question to conclude this episode. And that question is, as I pull it up, which Knicks player owns the franchise record for most turnovers in a single playoff game? All right, which Knicks player owns the franchise record for most turnovers in a single playoff game? So let me know the answer, and that is it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Episode 927 of the podcast, and I'll see you guys in the next show. Hopefully the Knicks start to win some games now because, you know, I just 8-5 doesn't look good. It's just, I know it's on pace for 50 plus wins technically, but it just doesn't look good. And I want to see them start to win games consistently again. So hopefully Brunson's back Wednesday. I highly doubt it. We'll see. See you all. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.